the feast of Corpus Christi.
Let us adore Christ, the King who ruleth the nations,
who giveth fatness of spirit to them that eat him.
A great solemnity has this day risen upon our earth, a feast both to God and men, for it is the feast of Christ the Mediator, who is present in the sacred host, that God may be given to man, and man to God. Divine union? Yes,
such is the dignity to which man is permitted to aspire, and to this aspiration God has responded, even here below, by an invention which is all of heaven. It is today that man celebrates this marvel of God's goodness. And yet, against both the feast and its divine object, there has been made the old-fashioned objection. How can these things be done? It really does seem as though reason has a right to find fault with what looks like senseless pretensions of man's heart. Every living being thirsts after happiness, and yet, and because of that, it only aspires after the good of which it is capable. For it is the necessary condition of happiness that, in order for its existence, there must be the full contentment of the creature's desire. Hence, in that great act of creation, which the Scripture so sublimely calls his playing in the world, when, with his almighty power, he prepared the heavens and enclosed the depths and balanced the foundations of the earth, we are told that divine wisdom secured the harmony of the universe by giving to each creature, according to its degree in the scale of being, an end adequate to its powers. He thus measured the wants, the instinct, the appetite, that is, the desire, of each creature, according to its respective nature, so that it would never have cravings which its faculties were insufficient to satisfy. In obedience, then, to this law, was not man, too, obliged to confine, within the limits of his finite nature, his desires for the good and the beautiful, that is, his searching after God, which is a necessity with every intelligent and free being? Otherwise, would it not be that for certain beings, their happiness would have to be in objects, which must ever be out of the reach of their natural faculties? Great as the anomaly would appear, yet does it exist. True psychology, that is, the true science of the human mind, bears testimony to this desire for the infinite. Like every living creature around him, man thirsts for happiness, and yet he is the only creature on earth that feels within itself longings for what is immensely beyond its capacity. Whilst docile to the Lord placed over them by the Creator, the irrational creatures are quite satisfied with what they find in this world. They render to man their several services, and their own desires are all fully gratified by what is within their reach. It is not so with man. He can find nothing in this his earthly dwelling which can satiate his irresistible longings for a something which this earth cannot give, and which time cannot produce, for that something is the infinite. God himself, when revealing himself to man through the works he has created, that is, when showing himself to man in a way which his natural powers can take in. God, when giving man to know him as the first cause, as last end of all creatures, as unlimited perfection, as infinite beauty, as sovereign goodness, as the object, which can content both our understanding and our will. No, not even God himself, thus known and thus enjoyed, could satisfy man. This being, made out of nothing, wishes to possess the infinite in his own substance. He longs after the sight of the face. He ambitions to enjoy the life of his Lord and God. The earth seems to him but a trackless desert, where he can find no water that can quench his thirst. From early dawn of each wearisome day, his soul is at once on the watch, pining for that God who alone can quell his desires. Yea, his very flesh, too, has its thrilling expectations for that beautiful, infinite one. Let us listen to the psalmist who speaks for us all. As the hart panteth after the fountains of water, so my soul panteth after thee, O God. My soul hath thirsted after the strong, living God. When shall I come and appear before the face of God? My tears have been my bread, day and night, whilst it is said to me daily, Where is thy God? These things I remembered, and poured out my soul in me, for I shall go over into the place of the wonderful tabernacle, even to the house of God, with the voice of joy and praise, the noise of one that is feasting. Why art thou sad, O my soul, and why dost thou trouble me? Hope in God, for I will still give praise unto him, the salvation of my countenance and my God. If reason is to be the judge of such sentiments as these, they are but wild enthusiasm and silly pretensions. Why talk of the sight of God, of the life of God, of a banquet wherein God himself is to be the repast? Surely these are things far too sublime for man, or any created nature, to reach. Between the wisher and the object longed for, there is an abyss, the abyss of disproportion, which exists between nothingness and being. Creation, all-powerful as it is, does not, in itself, imply the filling up of that abyss. If the disproportion could ever cease to be an obstacle to the union aspired to, it would be by God himself going that whole length, and then imparting something of his own divine energies to the creature that had once been nothing. But what is there in man to induce the infinite being, whose magnificence is above the heavens, to stoop so low as that? This is the language of reason. But, on the other hand, who was it that made the heart of man so great and so ambitious that no creature can fill it? How comes it that whilst the heavens show forth the glory of God, and the firmament declareth how full of wisdom and power is every work of his hands, how comes it, we ask, that in man alone there is no proportion, no order? Could it be that the great Creator has ordered all things, excepting man alone, with measure and number and weight? That one creature who is the masterpiece of the whole creation, that creature for whom all the rest was intended as for its king, is he to be the only one that is a failure, and to live as a perpetual proclaimer that his Maker could not or would not be wise when he made man? Far from us be such a blasphemy. God is love, says St. John, and love is the knot which mere human philosophy can never loosen, and therefore must ever leave unsolved. The problem of man's desire for the infinite. Yes, God is charity. God is love. The wonder in all this question is not our loving and longing for God, but that he should have first loved us. God is love, and love must have union, and union makes the united like one another. Oh, the riches of the divine nature, wherein are infinite power and wisdom and love. These three constitute by their divine relations that blessed Trinity which has been the light and joy of our souls ever since that bright Sunday's feast which we kept in its honor. Oh, the depth of the divine counsels, wherein that which is willed by boundless love finds, in infinite wisdom, how to fulfill in work what will be to the glory of omnipotence.